each week I kind of start off, what's my big three things that have to happen? What's my big three things each day? So today, Tuesday when I'm recording, I wrote down my big three things to do, and it's just that organizing. And what's that look like for you? What's a normal week look like for you? How do you prioritize? Hey, my hope's to share my discipleship journey as a pastor and be able to learn from others. And so hopefully this can help you as well. This week, January 7th, 2025, when I'm recording this, and back to the office from a little time off and break. And so lots of time just kind of getting myself organized, answering emails, going through my day planner and trying to just get organized. And so I came in a little early to get that done and then start planning it out. So for me, part of that is like, what's my goals this year? And so I think I've worked through those. And then each week I kind of start off, what's my big three things that have to happen? What's my big three things each day? So today, Tuesday when I'm recording, I wrote down my big three things to do, and it's just that organizing. And what's that look like for you? What's a normal week look like for you? How do you prioritize? I'm really trying to okay, what's the big three things I have to do? There's always a task list, but what's the big three? And as I move into this year, how do I spend more time with what I need to? And I think I'm wrestling through that. What's that look like? How do I spend time on the things that I need to do and let go of the things that are just time wasters? I listened to a great podcast today by, or at least most of it. There's a little bit I haven't finished yet. 95 Network. It's a great podcast. I'll put the link down below. I'd encourage you to check it out. It's been helpful in my journey and connected with them a number of years ago. And I just find they have a lot of resources. But one of the things that he talked about in the video was how he used to spend all this time getting these, because they get their chairs put in the right order in place and lining everything up. And he was a little crazy about that. And just the time that looking back, he's like, why was I so concerned about that? It was such a waste of time. And again, for me, wrestling, okay, what am I wasting my time with? And what are the things man, I really want to do this, but I can't. So I got to let it go. So there's a little bit of evaluation happening for me again in that as I try to figure that out. Christmas Eve, how did Christmas Eve go? So as we shared, we did 2 services and really nervous leading up to that. We had 200 people come over with the 2 services combined. So last year was 120. So we definitely increased in that. And now it's kind of okay, how do we define what success looks like? Because to be honest, my big reason for doing it was a bit of numbers, was to expand our network of how do we get more people. And there was a ton of people I didn't know. And so I think that's good. It helped our people. They invited people. We did some YouTube and Facebook advertising as well, and kind of learning how to use those. But the idea was to expose and draw in. And so now how do we stay connected with those people? That's always the challenge. And how do you one of the things we realized is, or I've realized, I've talked about this before, there's a lot of people on the fringe. So how do we get those fringe people in and get those people who are further into that, let's say the core, into deeper commitments and walks with Jesus? And what's that look like? What's discipleship look like in the midst of that? So wrestling through that. So we definitely gained some new people who showed up at least the first Sunday here in January. So we'll see what happens. We've got a potluck next week as a bit of a winter kickoff to the new year and just building that community. Another conversation I had, I thought, I'm gonna talk about that today because it's something I think I'm wrestling constantly with, and it's around all this. And part of it was a conversation: who should I visit, and who shouldn't I, and how there's some people well, let's put it this way, it doesn't matter with some people. Sometimes you can have, 5 people go and visit someone, but when the pastor shows up, this is what they shared with me, then it's like this whole other holier, awesome God showed up. It's just better. And I listened to the person sharing that, and part of it's around our need to develop a congregational care team, a pastoral care team that cares for such things and other things. It's connected into our discipleship, but it's part of the congregational care. And I can't do that all. And nor should I try, but there's people who think I should. And you probably know this this challenge of how do you do congregational or pastoral care. I've heard those two terms used in light of size and time, and what do you give up. And I think as I reflect more on that conversation, I'm really in the position of that is really a very, very unhealthy understanding of church. And I know that some disagree with that. But when I look at, okay, what's my role? My role is equipping. And that equipping the church to be the church, to do it. And I can't do everything. I'm reminded of the passage in the book of Acts when the widows weren't cared for, and so we have deacons being raised up who go and serve, and just the need for that equipping and delegating and pushing down, and I kind of become this connector. But at the same time, some of me does feel guilty because I can't get to everybody, and I miss people, and I look at all the names and go, we're not caring for all of these people connected well. And what does that look like to care for them well? How do we do that? What's that look like? And so we're wrestling. That's one of my goals this year is actually develop a congregational care team to be able to care for our congregation. And I think that's actually more beneficial, is that there's a team doing this. It's not relying on one or maybe two. It's a team. And when I read the scriptures, that's what's there. But why in North America do you think the pastor has to be? Why have we developed this? Like, we've raised the pastor up to just this level that they're not to be at. And some of us pastors are guilty for creating that system. I've always pushed against it, and it's definitely provided some friction over the years, and probably is again here as well. But how's this tension work in your situation? And as I look at here, if we are to grow, there's just simply no way. And this is why I believe in smaller communities and disciples making disciples. Because what happens is those smaller discipleship groups actually start caring and doing the congregational care way better. And it lessens burnout too, right? Because burnout's another problem in the midst of this. And so that's why I think this is a crucial piece in growing the church. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are down in the comments around this. But how do we equip leaders to serve in such a manner and raise up leaders who's raising up leaders, and all of that conversation that we've been having. Today I had a part of a discipleship huddle that we call it, and what it is it's a group of pastors that are meeting and they're working through some material, but we talk about how do we make disciples, and there's resources that we look at. It also gives an opportunity, which is one of the things we recognize today, just the value of having someone outside of your context to share about your journey, and some of the guys really appreciating that, and people who aren't necessarily emotionally connected to the area, but they are to seeing you flourish and succeed, and so there's value that's come out of that group, and we're starting to talk, okay, what's next, and what happens, and I'm wrestling with that. And how do we raise up more leaders, pastors, disciplers to make disciples? And is that what we did in this group over the past year? Is that an avenue? That are those tools, things that we can use? And I would say yes. And we got to figure all that out. And I'm not sure where all that goes, but that's something we're trying to figure out. And I'm hoping, I want to see other leaders raised up. But again, I'm reminded of I gotta work it here, and so focusing in on men, trying to raise up. That's a big one, and we'll see where the Advent groups go. And they finished up. We finished well. There's at least one that is probably going to start back up, and so I'm going to be working on that. I'll talk about that next time. Those are a few things, anyways, of kind of where the discipleship journey is at, and we'll go from there. Hey, how are you making disciples this year? What's that look like in your journey? What resources would you suggest? Let's go make disciples.